Welcome to Arizona State University's Academic Test Program. This is an example video for the topic on hypothesis testing.
I watched the video, Steps to Doing Hypothesis Testing. Is this a video showing an example?
Yes, this video will show how to apply the steps to hypothesis testing. Remember, hypothesis testing is testing to see if something is significant or not. Do you remember the 8 steps?
Read and understand. Figure out what test to use. Label the hypothesis. Summary stats. Is this the same as descriptive stats?
I believe it is.
Calculate the test statistic. Do a comparing method. Write what was decided in words without using words that make use of sound like we are 100% sure that is the right answer. Breathe because we did it.
Correct. Let's go into an example. This problem is from statistics, the exploration of analyzing of data. Edition 7 by Roxy Pig and J. Lee DeFer. This problem is on page 556 and it's number 11.38. Let's do step 1 and read the problem. I'm going to have National Reader read the problem out loud to us.
The authors of the paper Adolescents and MP3 Players Too Many Risks, Too Few Precautions Pediatrics 2099-35 E958 concluded that more boys than girls listened to music at high volumes. This conclusion was based on data from independent random sample of 764 Dutch boys and 748 Dutch girls aged 12 to 19. Of the boys, 397 reported that they almost always listened to music at a high volume setting. Of the girls, 331 reported listening to music at a high volume setting. Do the sample data support the author's conclusion that the proportion of Dutch boys who listen to music at high volume is greater than this proportion for Dutch girls? Test the relevant hypothesis using a 0.01 significance level.
Now for step 2, what test? First, let's ask our questions. Question A, are we looking at the mean or proportion?
We are using proportion.
Correct. B, are we comparing data or no?
Yes,
Why do you think that?
because we are looking at the difference between Dutch boys and Dutch girls.
Awesome, that is correct. C, what are you working with?
I think we need to use the z-test.
Yes, with proportions we use the z-table. D, are you doing a one-tail or a two-tail test?
It is an one-tail test because the question has the keyword greater than.
Correct. Can we say that we are doing a two-sample proportion test using the t-test? That is a one-tail?
Yes. With step 3, you suggest starting with the alternate first. Why is that again?
I suggest it because the alternate hypothesis is the research question that is being asked.
The alternate would be greater than because it says in the question, or would it be the proportion of Dutch boys greater than the proportion of Dutch girls? But there is no number like it would be for one sample. Is this okay?
In a way we do. If we put the proportions on the same side by using orders of operations, we will get the result of the proportion of boys minus the proportion of girls greater than 0. Our number will be 0.
Okay. The alternate proportion of boy minus proportion of girl is greater than 0. Thanks for explaining that.
You're welcome. Now, what is the null hypothesis going to be?
The null will be proportion of boy minus proportion of girl, which is equal to 0.
Correct. And what is alpha?
I am saying alpha is 0.01. Am I thinking that alpha and significance level is the same thing?
That is right. You are doing great. Now let's do some summary statistics now. What statistics do you think we should find?
We should find the proportion hat of boys and girls. Right now, we have ratios.
Correct, and we will do 397 divided by 764 for boys. And it will become 0.5196. And round to 2 decimal points, the answer will be 0.52. For girls, we will do 331 divided by 748, and this calculates to 0.4425. And as rounding to 2 decimal points, we will come up with 0.44.
They look like a big difference.
Yes, they look like a big difference, but they may not. This is why we are doing the test, to see if it is a big enough difference to say that more Dutch boys listen to higher volumes while listening to music than Dutch girls. We have one more thing to calculate for step 4, and that is the combined probability hat. The formula is on the screen. Now we can substitute the numbers in, and combined proportion hat will be 0.4754. Because we've been rounding 2 decimal points, we should keep it up, and it will be 0.48. Warning! Please be careful with rounding. It can cause errors, and please put down where you're rounding to. For the person that is grading, can see what you are thinking. If it's not already stated in the problem to round to so many decimal points.
What about seeing the data?
Good question. We really don't need to do this for this problem. Seeing the data is when you're working with raw data. If you want to do this, you can make 2 different pie charts, one for Dutch boys and the other one for Dutch girls, and to see what the difference is.
Okay, and step 5 is to find the test statistics.
Correct, you are doing great. Now what do you think the formula we need to use is?
While I was looking in my notes, I think I need to use this formula I just put on the screen.
Good job by looking in your notes and finding the formula you think it is. You are correct on what formula we need to use. Now we can substitute the numbers into the formula and it will look like this. When we do this, we will get the answer of 3.11307.
Because the test statistic is a score, would you just round to 2 decimal points with this answer and get 3.11?
This is correct. Keep up the good work. Now we need to decide which comparative method we need to use, the p-value or the critical value.
My teacher wants us to do both methods. She says to do p-value with the stats part of TI 83 or 84. Will both methods show reject or fail to reject?
Awesome. To know what you need to do is both methods and how your teacher wants you to do the p-value. To your question, yes, both methods should show us reject a null or fail to reject a null. If they do not match, it means something went wrong somewheres.
Good to know. Thanks.
You are welcome. Let's go over how to do it on the calculator. Using a TI 83 or 84, they work very similar. There are very little differences, but for what we're doing, there are not really differences. So we need to hit stat, go over to tests, go down to number 6. 1 is boy, 2 is girl. Pick the right test, so greater than, and hit calculate. And we get numbers. All the answers we might need, not all, but close to all.
Now we have the p-value and it is smaller than 0.01. So you reject the null?
Correct. Now let's do the critical value. We need to use the z-table. So we need to do 1 minus 0.01 because we're using the greater than tail. And we will be getting the result of 0.99. Note in the table we are needing to look for 0.99, and it's between the z-scores of 2.32 and 2.33. Remember, for one tail greater than, if the test statistic is greater than the critical value, we will reject, or if the test is less than the critical value, then we will fail to reject.
So, for the test statistic, we got 3.11 and that is greater than 2.33. So we will reject the null. They both match. Yahoo!
Correct. And how do you think we write the conclusion?
There is enough evidence to show that the proportion of Dutch boys who listen to music at high volume is greater than the proportion of Dutch girls.
Sounds good here. Now we can breathe. We made it through the hypothesis test problem.
With following the steps and just changing the formula and other things when it is needed mattering on what test, we can use the same steps.
Correct. And he says they follow these steps, just different formulas. Thanks for coming and have fun!